Pain heals. Chicks dig scars. Glory lasts forever.
Sophie Cunningham. She says she's going to be good, and then immediately, right after that, wrecks her own statement, decides not to be good, but she has some important things to say. And I also think, for a reason I'll get into in a moment, that she's a much better messenger. Let's talk about this. Welcome back to the channel. Appreciate you so much. Thank you for being here. Truly appreciate all of your support. Hope you're having a fantastic day. You look fantastic. Shout out to the 19. Okay, let's dig in because I know, and I have another video I haven't released yet. I'm not sure if I'm going to or not, of some of the things Stephen A. Smith said about Cathy Engelbert. But for example, in the Nafisa Collier piece in her video, I know I took a different viewpoint than a lot of people in the Nafisa Collier who were just like, everything she said, absolutely perfect. Oh my God, this is wonderful. Glad she's speaking out and all of that. And I sort of tried to break it down a little more and talk about why it might not be so great coming from the Nafisa Collier now, other motivations, as well as the fact of where was this with everything that was happening to Caitlin Clark. In fact, before we dig into the Sophie thing, I got to read you this because this is relevant. This is what comments on that Nafisa Collier video. I've listened to about 6 or 8 other podcasts about this video. You're the only one to not believe Fee and what she says. So obviously you're spelled incorrectly. Y-O-U-R should be apostrophe R-E, as we know. You're protecting Cathy and your connections with her to get access. So I'm done with you. Okay, well, first of all, I never said I didn't believe Fee and what she says. I talked about her motivations and why she might be saying what she's saying and how she was not giving you direct quotes from Cathy. And again, in the PR battle, I get it. Of course, when there are two sides, right? Fee is going to, and Cathy too, and we've all done this, right? Come on, especially if you have siblings growing up, you're going to paraphrase and twist what the other said to make them look as bad as possible, to make you look as good as possible. It's simple as that. I have no reason to protect Cathy. I've been calling for her to resign or be fired ever since I started covering the WNBA, so that's bizarre. No access at all to her, no connections at all. I could not get hold of Cathy Engelbert if my life depended on it. Last thing I'll say about that real quick, just because I'm funny. Maybe consider tuning in here more than those other 6 to 8 podcasts, because as I've done in the past, I've done plenty of videos where I knew I would lose subscribers and did, because I knew it would be an opinion that people would not like, that it would be maybe a minority opinion. And I knew that in this case too. I hesitated to do this video for the same reason, based on the reactions I would see to Fee. So my point is, maybe, and you don't have to agree with me, but maybe that means you're going to get more truth here than from those 6 to 8, who clearly it seems like they're going to give you what you want to hear, which, is where the term grifting comes from. I'm just saying, maybe. And of course, I don't know who the 6 to 8 are. I'm not calling anyone out because I know I'll get that too. There are a couple other, and look, Rhodes is going to give it to you straight at Black and White Sports too. Ben Daniel, we know he likes to call a spade a spade. I don't know if he's talking about the shovel or he's playing poker, but you know what I'm saying there. So anyway, okay. And the whole reason I covered that is because for me, Sophie is a better source. Now, look, she's on the player side. Again, people understand all of this is in the context of a CBA negotiation. Okay. That's important to know. But the flip side is, unlike 98% of the league, Sophie Cunningham fully embraced what Caitlin Clark has meant to the WNBA and the opportunities it brings with those eyeballs for other players like Sophie, and that's important. So let's dig into this. I'm going to play about a minute and talk about it, and then there's about another minute of it that's some things she said that I think are worth listening to and talking about as well. So let's dig in.
It was truly awesome and inspiring, but it was also a season from hell, and hopefully this never happens again, because I think we are exhausted, when it's blow after blow, a whole bunch of other things going on, it's exhausting. And so for us to kind of be able to finally take a deep breath and know no one else is going to get injured is a huge break for us.
So you said after Game 5, I got a lot on my mind.
Oh boy.
What particularly, in what direction was your mind racing at that juncture?
I mean, everywhere. And I'm going to be good today. I am, because I'm just tired of our league. They need to step up and be better. Our leadership from top to bottom needs to be held accountable. I think that there are a lot of people in the position of powers in the WNBA who they might be really great business people, but they don't know shit about basketball. And that's got to change. I said I was going to be good, and I just messed up.
All right. Yeah, I said I was going to be good and I messed up. So a couple of points. And one, why I say Sophie's a better messenger, because she fully embraced Caitlin Clark and what Caitlin Clark brought to the league. But again, I do think it's important to understand that this is a CBA negotiation, because again, where were all the players? And I think Sophie's excluded, as I just said a little bit. Where were all the players with what was going on with Caitlin Clark in the past year? There was no speaking up. They clearly tried to diminish her at every turn. They tried to hurt her at every turn. They tried to say she had nothing to do with any growth of the league, and on and on and on. And now all of a sudden, instead of, oh, the WNBA is a physical league and that's just the way it is and we love it and you got to suck it up and all of that, they've completely changed tactics. That being said, one of the big keys I think she mentioned here that is really important was she talked about they might be great at business, but they don't know anything about basketball. That is really important. And look, you obviously ultimately there's a commissioner and that's one person. And they may have a strength that might only be one of those things. They might be great at business, or they might be just, you know, hugely involved with basketball their whole lives, but not the business side of it. Whichever it is, that commissioner needs to know how to surround themselves with complementary people, with people who know the other stuff that they don't know. And I'm not sure we get that with the WNBA. Right? We all know. Look, we can all the things we can say about Cathy, and man, I've said them all. She obviously had an accomplished business career before she came to the WNBA, and that was seen as really important. The problem is, did she surround herself with basketball people? It sure doesn't seem that way now, does it? So I think that's an important part that Sophie mentioned there. That is part of the reason you need success with the league. It's kind of, in a way, a little bit of what the Indiana Fever did. Now, I don't know exactly how they divided up the roles behind the scenes, but obviously Kelly has a sport background, a basketball background. Amber has a marketing background. Now she has an extensive marketing background in sports leagues and organizations, but she has a marketing background. So they complement each other. They have knowledge in each other's areas, but they each have their separate strength that are really important when you're talking about a sports organization's front office. All right, we got one more clip here that I think is important too that I want to talk about. We're going to dig into here as well.
But I do. I think everyone's frustrated when NBA players from that side of things are reaching out to us, just like in awe of how terrible it is. Like, that's saying something. That is absolutely saying something when your counterpart is feeling bad for us because of how we're getting treated. I mean, come on. And that's from leadership. That's from I'll just leave it there. From our leadership, it's just bad. When fans and players, especially players, when we're competing at the highest level and it's like a battlefield out there, when we're agreeing on the court because of how awful the officials are, like that's saying something. Like, listen to us. We're not going to come for your heads, but I think there is room for improvement to change the criteria when the whole league is asking for it. But when the leadership isn't doing anything about it, why? And so I think there's just frustration. The game's not fun to watch because everyone's just trying to kill each other, because that's how you're going to survive. Otherwise, you get injured. I don't know. It just sucks. Our game is changing, and yeah, we want it to be physical, but at the same time, like, you still want to watch good basketball and win.
100%. Now, a couple of issues that I have with this. Look, like, I agree with her in general and in principle. I get it. The one thing I will say is I do think that It was part of the league strategy for sure, and I think they were covering up a lack of skill, as I've said previously, with Caitlin Clark and some other players, and especially what's coming up from behind Caitlin Clark. And in college now, that is going to change. Of course, it takes time to get it to change over for an entire professional league, but with these new players coming in, bring in more athletic players, more skilled players. Yes, easing up on the physicality then does make it a much better game. But I think before that, the physicality was used to cover up the fact that there wasn't a ton of skill. And so that is changing. The one thing I will add, though, that I think it's important to understand if we're going to look at the bigger picture, yes, the officiating sucks. Yes, it needs to change. But keep in mind, the officiating right now sucks in the NFL and it sucks in the NBA too. It sucks in a different way in the NBA. It's not all about making the league look like rugby, but there are a whole lot of things players get away with in the NBA that for me make it unwatchable. The way you can carry the ball is absolutely absurd. The fact that you can take 3, 4, 5 steps. I mean, I've seen LeBron James, 25 feet from the basket, standing there and pivoting on a foot in a full circle, and then pivoting on the other foot in a full circle before it's like it's the most blatant switch of a pivot foot you could ever see, and it wasn't called. But I'll wrap it up with this because I am really curious what y'all think about this, and this is why I say it's important to keep the CBA thing in mind because all the players are talking about this now. Before it was they talked about the physicality as a positive. Now they're all like, "Oh, woe is me," and we've got to change this. That being said, and everything I just said about yes, the officiating has to change. Yes, the WNBA leadership, I believe, also does have to change. But the players have to change as well. And I'm not even talking about their game or getting more skill, but let's be real. Let's be real. The way games are officiated did not make Dejanay Carrington try to blind Caitlin Clark. It did not make Kennedy Carter blindside Caitlin Clark from behind during a dead ball. It did not make J.C. Sheldon try and blind Caitlin Clark. It did not make Marina Mabry come from behind and blindside Caitlin Clark. And I believe Tina Charles, did a little something in there as well. None of the players were forced to do those things. It does not make Alyssa Thomas play rugby. It did not make Alyssa Thomas commit that dirty play on Angel Reese last year when Angel Reese was in the air and kind of grab her by the head and slam her down. None of that stuff has to do with the officiating. Yes, if the game is being officiated where they're letting a little more physicality go, especially if you're a defender, you are going to take full advantage of that. But let's be real, a lot of the over the top stuff that we're seeing from the players is also on the players. However, I think again, the thing I'll wrap up with this is a much better message coming from someone like Sophie, even with the fact that there's about the CBA, because of the fact that she has been one of those rare players that fully embraced Caitlin Clark coming into the league and what that meant in terms of new fans and new opportunities for the WNBA to grow and what the players would get out of it. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. As always, appreciate you checking out this video. Go have the day you deserve. I will talk to you later.